So investments and corporate strategy go hand in hand, and if you have always wondered how should I invest, how should I learn corporate strategy, and what is really BCG 2x2 matrix, then hi, welcome to my channel. I am a BCG ex-management consultant, and of course I've done my MBA from ISB Hyderabad with a Harvard Business School exchange. And feel free to subscribe to the channel and click on the notification button so that every time I'm putting out new content on MBA consulting and creating wealth, you get notified. With that, let's of course directly jump into this video, which is around BCG 2x2 matrix. So I am, as always, going to be dividing this entire video into three parts. One is the why, second is the what, and then of course is the how. So if you are an aspirant of a management consultant job, and even if you're not an aspirant of management consultant job, if you're trying to figure out how should I be investing in my portfolio, or if you're thinking that I should be starting my new entrepreneurial venture, how should I go about it? These are really interesting questions. How should I invest my personal wealth? Or if I am a management consultant aspirant, or whether I am actually an entrepreneurial enthusiast, or I'm a startup enthusiast, then how should I actually figure out which idea to invest in? My time, my energy. Then BCG 2x2 matrix come in really very handy. BCG 2x2 matrix was started by the BCG founder, Henderson, and of course now we have the Henderson Institute in BCG as well. And the chairman of BCG Henderson Institute, of course, is a very dear mentor to my venture as well. But coming back to the point that BCG 2x2 matrix is actually used so commonly and so heavily when you're a management consultant at BCG across the cases. And with that, let me help you understand what is the purpose of BCG 2x2 matrix. So almost many decades ago, when Bruce Henderson was an academician, he came up with a very interesting framework how to really identify assets where should you invest in. And like quadrants in mathematics, high school mathematics, we would have studied quadrants, right? He came up with two axes. Sorry, somewhere on the video I will put the BCG 2x2 matrix so that you are able to visually see also what I'm trying to explain. So on the x-axis you have the market share, and on the y-axis you have the market growth. I repeat, on the x-axis you will see the market share, and on the y-axis you will see the market growth. And the entire axis will be divided into two parts: high and low, high and low. So you could typically be, so what BCG Henderson basically said that in any market you would be bounded by two axes. One is of market share that you hold relatively, and second is of market growth, largely of the industry, right? So are you in a tech booming industry, or are you working in health tech, or are you thinking of writing written newspaper articles because the physical hard copy is a dying medium. So what he basically said that there will be four kind of portfolios that can exist, and it depends what kind of asset do you eventually want to be in. So the first one is question mark. So question mark typically is when you have no market share or a low market share and the market growth is high. So that's where you typically start. So you have no market share but the market growth is high. You're sitting in a booming industry, something around cryptocurrency or NFTs, but your currently market share is low. So typically it is advised that if you're looking at a new idea or a new asset, or even trying to actually putting your personal money in the stock market, that is where you need to be. And then slowly and steadily it moved towards the left, which is where you see the star, which is what is basically high market growth and high market share. So you're sitting in a booming market and your market share is also high. So it is basically called star. And eventually with time it will become a cash cow. So the asset becomes a cow. What do we mean by that? Your market share is still high, but the market growth has actually declined. No industry for a very long period of time remains a booming industry. It declines with time. So it's no longer a very attractive market. It's no longer a high growth market, but yet your market share is extremely high. And hence it has become a perpetual cash cow for you. It is producing cash for you for a particular period of time. And then of course you have the low market share and the low market share and low market growth quadrant as well, which is called a dog. That if you're in this situation where neither the market is growing nor your market share is actually growing, it is low, then it is typically advisable that you divest that asset, or rather liquidate that asset and not have that asset in your portfolio. And this is very interesting because this entire idea of being a question mark to being a star to being a cash cow is more like a product life cycle, or rather actually an organizational life cycle as well. A typical startup starts from being a question mark, and if all things being done right, they move, or the organization move to becoming a star and then become a cash cow as well. And you could, like I said, if you are an entrepreneur, and which is where I'm now moving towards the how part of this entire video, where if you are an entrepreneur, this is a good framework for you to figure out. Every entrepreneur typically thinks that my idea is the best one, perhaps, but if you think along these lines, you would realize that my idea was perhaps sitting in the dog quadrant, which is low on market share and of course low on market growth as well. So that could be one thing. And similarly, when you're investing your money in particular shares, then you may be able to put the portfolio of the companies on this quadrant. Is this company having high market share and is in a booming market, or is this company a cash cow where currently they are generating cash but eventually with time they may not be able to? And similarly, you could be in corporate strategy and you could be working for either a leading unicorn startup in this country, or you could be working for the big conglomerates, and you might be solving interesting problems that we have $100 million extra, where should we invest in? And BCG 2x2 matrix then comes in really very handy. And those are very interesting cases. In fact, at BCG I did solve this very interesting problem for a telecom client based out of Singapore, where they had more than, of course, $100 million, and they wanted to identify which asset class or which industry or which organization could they put their money in. It's a pure play strategy project. And once again, you may be able to take multiple case studies. You may be able to put Samsung, where from washing machines to mobile phones to games, they have had multiple assets in their portfolio. And similarly, Apple as an organization, you may be able to understand from iPhone to Mac to, of course, their earpods and, of course, the softwares also. Which asset really sit in? And in fact, that will be a good food for thought for you. And if I were to give you this homework, why don't you actually do this homework for yourself? So BCG, the very good thing with BCG 2x2 matrix is it is not just bounded by these two axes. You can actually change the axes also for a given period of time and a given problem as well. So this is what my homework for all of you would be, and I would look forward to hearing your comments in the comment section, and see how have you really learned to apply the BCG 2x2 matrix, which is that on the x-axis you could have impact, and on the y-axis you could have feasibility, and you are trying to figure out your career goals. Where should you go in your life? And impact basically means that it could lead to a better financial success for you. It could lead to a good work-life balance. And feasibility means that your current skill set are aligned with that career goal. So impact on the x-axis and feasibility of achieving that goal on the y-axis, and high and low on both the quadrants, and figure out what could be a good career goal for you. All right, that's my time with all of you. I hope you liked listening about the BCG 2x2 matrix, and you could apply it in your case interviews. You could apply it in your job also. If you're working in corporate strategy, you could apply this for your investment portfolio, and you could also apply this if you're a startup enthusiast. Feel free to subscribe and hit on the like button if you like this video, and of course, if you want to hear more from me and if you want to know more about MBA, feel free to check out my education venture, globalgovernance-initiative.org. Take care. See you soon. Bye.